I still remember the exact moment. Everything began to unravel. It was a Tuesday morning. Our department had just wrapped up a quarterly strategy meeting. Nothing dramatic, just charts, updates, the usual corporate fluff. I cracked a joke about the budget cuts, got a few polite laughs, even from Amy. Amy was my teammate. Smart, articulate, good at her job. We got along well, never anything more than friendly banter. I thought we had a good working rhythm. I'd even recommended her for a lead on the Baxter account 2 months prior. That same afternoon, I got a calendar invite from HR. The subject line just read, "Private meeting, 4 p.m. No explanation, no details. I figured maybe it was a benefits update or some policy nonsense. But when I walked in and saw both the HR manager, Karen, and our director of operations, Greg, sitting stiffly across from the small conference table, I knew something was off. "Darren," Karen said, folding her hands, "this is regarding a concern that was raised about your conduct in the workplace." My stomach dropped. I blinked. "I'm sorry. What concern?" She glanced at a folder, then at me. "Amy Jenkins has submitted a formal complaint alleging inappropriate comments made toward her, both verbal and written." I actually laughed. Not out of disrespect, just sheer disbelief. "What?" Karen didn't smile. Greg didn't blink. I looked from one face to the other, searching for some kind of mistake. "I've never said anything inappropriate to Amy, ever." Karen nodded like she expected that answer. She mentioned several instances, including yesterday and after today's meeting. I racked my brain. Yesterday? We barely spoke outside of a shared Uber from the client site. And today's meeting? That was all numbers and timelines. I said nothing that could be twisted, could I? Karen continued. "For now, we're placing you on administrative leave, effective immediately. We will conduct a thorough investigation." "Wait, administrative leave?" I said. "What about my accounts? The Wright and Baxter merger?" Greg finally spoke. "We'll be reassigning those, Darren. You're not to access any internal systems until this is resolved." I sat there stunned. I'd led that account from the ground up. I mentored Amy on that project. And now I was being walked out of the building like a criminal. I thought once I got home I'd have space to breathe, think clearly, maybe even laugh at the absurdity of it all. But the silence hit harder than I expected. My company phone was already deactivated, my Slack access gone. Even my email bounced back when I tried sending a message to Greg. And then, the calls stopped coming. Not just from HR, but from coworkers I had mentored for years. People I had drinks with after long product launches. People who used to ask me for advice before walking into client meetings. No one checked in. Not one message asking, "Hey, are you okay?" By day 3, I knew why. A former coworker, Jamal, finally texted me in private. "Hey man, I just wanted you to know what's going around the office. Amy said you were sending her late-night texts. She showed screenshots." My stomach dropped. "What screenshots?" I replied. His answer, "Don't know, looked like chat logs. She showed them to Karen during the meeting today." That was impossible. I never sent her anything outside of work topics. Always professional, always through company channels. But I knew what this was. Someone had faked messages. They looked real enough, I guess. If you copied and pasted Slack messages into a text file, maybe even used one of those fake SMS generator sites. It wouldn't take much. Still, the damage was done. I tried to reach out to Amy. No response. I tried emailing HR. Automatic reply. By the end of the week, I was officially under investigation and unofficially radioactive. My name was no longer mentioned in team threats. My projects were stripped from my profile on the company website. And the worst part, I didn't even know why she was doing this. Was it revenge for getting passed over? Was it jealousy? Or something worse? I couldn't sleep. Not because I was afraid of losing my job. At that point, I knew that part was already done. What kept me up was the question that wouldn't leave my head. Why would Amy do this? We were never close. Friendly, sure, but always professional. I'd even defended her when Greg questioned her readiness for a promotion. And now she was the reason I was waking up to anxiety attacks. The breakthrough came on a Sunday morning. I got a call from Nina, a former intern who had worked with both of us last year. She sounded nervous. I don't know if I should be telling you this, but Amy and Greg, they've been close, really close. I froze. What do you mean? I mean, I saw them together. Outside of work a couple of times, dinners once at her apartment building. Suddenly, things clicked into place. Greg, my boss, had always played favorites, but I didn't realize he might be romantically involved with her. If that were true, it made sense. She wanted my job. He needed a reason to push me out without scrutiny. So, they created one. A fake harassment complaint, a manufactured narrative. It was all orchestrated, and I'd walked right into it. Worse, there was no evidence on my side, no security footage to prove I didn't do something, no messages to disprove the fakes, because they never showed me the screenshots. It was their word against mine, and they had all the power. After that call with Nina, I started documenting everything. Times, dates, conversations I could recall, even screenshots of my work history, my spotless performance reviews, anything that painted the picture of who I really was. Then I spoke with an employment lawyer. She listened patiently, then said something that stuck with me. They can fire you, but if they defamed you or retaliated against you for not playing along, that's different. That's actionable. The next day, I filed a formal request through legal channels to review the complaint that had been used against me. I expected resistance, and I got it. The documents are sealed, HR said. Confidentiality, they added. But when my lawyer applied pressure, things changed. What we finally received was vague. A single paragraph claiming that I'd created an uncomfortable environment, with no specifics. That was it. But it wasn't just what was written. It was what wasn't there. No dates, no witnesses, no actual description of behavior. Just enough to justify getting rid of me, without real grounds. Then came the twist. My lawyer found something in the company's policy docs, buried deep in the digital archives. A clause that said, any harassment claim must be reviewed by a neutral third-party investigator if it results in termination. Guess what? They never did that. They bypassed it. Greg made the decision alone, and Amy's complaint was never formally filed through the right process, so not only was my termination suspicious, it was a policy violation. Armed with the policy breach, my lawyer sent a formal notice to the company. They ignored it. Then we filed an EEOC complaint for wrongful termination, defamation, and retaliation. Suddenly, they weren't so quiet. A week later, I got a call. Not from HR, not from Greg, from the company's legal team. They wanted to discuss options. In other words, they were scared. Because they knew that if this went to court, a jury would hear it all. That Greg fired a top performer based on hearsay. That Amy's complaint lacked evidence. That they broke their own policies to protect the boss's favorite. During negotiations, they tried to spin the narrative. It was a misunderstanding. Emotions ran high. Greg was under pressure. But they didn't deny what they did. They offered me a settlement. At first, it was insulting. Barely enough to cover my rent for 3 months. I declined. My lawyer smiled. Let's make them nervous. We filed to depose Greg. That same week, I got a call from an unknown number. It was Amy. She was crying. I didn't mean for it to go this far, she said. Apparently, Greg had pressured her. He wanted me gone, so he could hire his nephew, who had already signed a contract before I was even terminated. They just needed a reason, so Greg had planted the seed, and Amy, whether out of fear or ambition, had played along. I thanked her for telling me, then sent that recorded call to my lawyer. With the recording in hand, everything changed. Greg was removed from his position, pending investigation. Amy resigned 2 days later. The company reached out again, this time with a much bigger settlement offer. It included full back pay, a public statement clearing my name, and a formal apology from the board. I accepted, not because I needed their apology, but because it was proof that I hadn't imagined it all, that I wasn't crazy, that the career I had built with integrity had meant something. I took a few months off, got back into photography, something I hadn't done since college, and for the first time in years, I slept through the night. No emails from Greg. No forced smiles at morning meetings. No walking on eggshells, afraid of saying the wrong thing. Just peace. I got offers from other firms, but I turned them down. Eventually, I started my own consultancy. I choose my clients now, my calendar, my team. I don't have to ask anyone's permission to lead with ethics. I ran into Amy once at a bookstore. She looked tired, older. She nodded. I nodded back. No words exchanged. None needed. We both knew how far things had gone. But I also knew I'd made it through, because I didn't cave. I didn't quit on the truth, even when it cost me everything. And in the end, that's what saved me.